Hello, and this is the deep dive discussion video of Burnt Offerings. This is RotD review of the day, and this is going to have some spoilers. So if you watch the initial video that I made with the review of this movie, I talked about the notion of loose ends, things that were touched upon, but not really following its own rules. And I want to start this off with actually addressing that because I know that it's something that people are probably going to latch onto, especially people that might be hardcore fans of this movie. I find that when a horror film lover latches onto a classic, that it becomes something that there's almost an emotional investment in, and taking criticism of it can be tricky. Um, Obviously, I don't mean to offend anybody, but I do want to be honest with the feelings that I had while watching this movie. And one of those feelings was a bit of confusion. Um so the house was obviously feeding on the life energy of the people. It was pretty obvious as far as, Betty Davis getting older and grayer and more feeble as things go on. The wife having a little bit more gray in her hair. There was just the way that the family was being altered to me was not consistent, and the inconsistency could have been easily explained if it had been examined further by the writer, the filmmaker, the actors. Um, just a couple of lines of dialogue, and I think they would have really nailed it. But as it was, why was the father aggressive towards the son in the pool? That never really got addressed. Why, towards the end, was he in a catatonic state? That didn't really get it. Yeah, he took a knock on the noggin in the car, but it acted as if he had been, oh, Dad, you finally talked. It's like, well, okay, it's been maybe less than 24 hours since he got clocked by the tree, um, or the car. It felt like the way that they were talking about it. A month had passed. Faith and Begora, he woke up. Um, and the wife, before the father tried to escape with the son in the car, was acting very peculiar, very strange. She had been transitioning very slowly into the person that had formed the emotional connection with the house. And then as soon as that accident happened and the father was in a catatonic state, it's like a switch flipped, and all of a sudden she was the one that was fine. Um, it never really seemed to wear the same, clothes for, any particular moment. That's just my opinion on how it had established the rules of it's going to alter the family, it's going to drain their life force, but for my money, it just wasn't consistent in how it handled it. Um, the father is damn near drowning his son 1 minute, and the next he's fine, while the wife is taking her turn at being weird and going through her much slower transition and then flipping the switch. I don't know. I've already covered all of it as far as that goes. I don't want to continue to repeat myself, but um, that being said, I did think it was an effective movie. I did like it. I thought the performances by Betty Davis in particular, although a bit over the top, I did enjoy. The wife's transition, I thought, was a very clever bit of acting, bit of writing. Just the subtle wardrobe changes, the choker and the classic style of dress, the way that she slowly changed, I thought was very well handled. As far as the effects and everything go, I really was impressed with the scene in the pool with the waves being made. I still am flabbergasted that they were able to do that, like I said, with 1970s technology, because I could swear that we had full side to side, front and back shot of the pool. It's not like we saw 3/4 of it, where that last quarter that is out of view of the camera was making the waves. The entire thing was in view, and I thought that that was really good, at least if I'm remembering it right. I seem to recall that we had the entire shot of the pool while waves were happening and crashing, and kudos to them on that. Uh, the part that had me going from ear to ear, as you might suspect, was when the father Supermaned out the window and onto the car and smashed his face through the windshield, splattering his son in blood. The movie up until that point had been a fairly psychological, horror movie. It tinkered with the subtleties of the characters and what they were going through. It avoided a lot of blood and gore. So when that happened, it really did take me by surprise. And this seemed to be one of those classic movies that really sold itself on the premise of the big reveal, and the big reveal being the wife being the one that is in the room, the elderly woman in the chair, having made the full transition, to the woman that was locked up in there. But even so, the stuntman Superman dive out the window I loved, and the fall and the blood splatter I really did love. I I was just so uh, astounded and happy when I watched that. I can't tell you why. I don't know if that says something about my character more than anything else. Anyway, I did want to get some classics under my belt with RotD, and it's something I'm going to be exploring a lot more of. I'm going to try and keep it movies that I haven't seen for the most part, but I also do want to take a better look at movies that I have seen and introduce you all to them, especially the ones that I might think be especially worth it, like The Legend of Hell House and The Haunting. But for each of those, I am going to make sure that I watch it immediately before the review here. I'm going to try and have no more than 24-hour lead time between the time that I have watched the end credits and the time that I am looking into this camera here, just so everything is fresh and I be as unbiased as possible, that I'm actually going from a proper recall and not just a fan's memory. So anyway, thank you for joining me looking at Burnt Offerings. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, chances are disagree with me, and that's all right. Whatever you think, I would really appreciate it if you would talk about it in the comments, discuss it below, tell me how I'm wrong, tell me how I'm right. Try to be respectful for everybody's sake, but let's discuss it. That's one of the reasons that I started making these videos, is so that we could talk about these movies, some lesser known titles, some classic titles with true horror fans. So there we go. Until tomorrow.